Hey there guys, and welcome. It is Lorenzo Aranda, Mr. Aranda, and welcome to part 3 of the DBQ series, which focuses on how do you write this DBQ. Part 1 was focused on teaching you guys the techniques and strategies used by politicians. Part 2 was focused on analyzing the documents using the graphic organizer. Now with part 3, we're going to focus on writing this thing. So some quick announcements. This will likely be the last video teaching you guys something this week or guiding you through it. At this point, you should focus on completing those 2 assignments. Should be relatively simple enough. Do your best on it. Due Friday, 11:59 p.m. I have a meeting tomorrow with my department, and so that way we can formalize what e-teaching will look like at Wells Community Academy, or at least discuss it. So if you do receive a video from me, it'll likely just be an update video regarding the situation at hand or e-teaching, or it could be a video starting to assign you guys up for consumer education, because you still need to take that course, and it's also helpful for you guys just to learn how to save money, make money, pay your bills, all that jazz. And please turn this in via Google Classroom, guys. You can share it with me, but this particular DBQ assignment, turned it in here. Shout out to the people who turned it in already, just so I can keep it nice and organized. So let's begin now. The question you have to answer is pick which 3 of the 6 strategies are most effective and why. Use evidence from at least 3 documents to support your answer. That question was a little complicated, so I made it the easier. Which 3 strategies are most effective in getting politicians elected? Use evidence from 3 documents to support your answer. So by now you should know the strategies. Here's the rubric that I'm going to grade you guys on. It's largely the same as the Alderman one, largely the same one we've been using all year, but there is a little bit of addition. At the very bottom, you'll see there's a use of documents category. If you use a 3 required document, you get full credit. If you don't use any, you get 1 point. So do keep that in mind. Now, by now, you should have already completed the DBQ analysis sheet, or at least analyze the documents on your own. Check out part 2 if you don't know what I'm talking about. And also, keep in mind, I am not going to be writing a paragraph about any of the documents we analyzed in part 2, primarily because I'm not going to give you guys a free paragraph. Instead, I'm going to analyze an advertisement, and I'm going to write a paragraph based on the advertisement. It's still the same format. I'm still going to use the same graphic organizer to answer the same questions, but this way you guys can focus on developing your writing skills more so. So this is the ad we're going to be using, the one I'm going to be writing a paragraph about using the graphic organizers that me and Miss Okuno made for you. Shout out to her for being awesome. So I'm going to hit play, because with the magic of Twitch.tv beta, I don't need to have you guys open a separate tab. We can watch it together. So Jason Kander, this is an advertisement, as you could see, for him running for the U.S. Senate. So let's begin.
I'm Jason Kander, and Senator Blunt has been attacking me on guns. Well, in the Army, I learned how to use and respect my rifle. In Afghanistan, I'd volunteer to be an extra gun in a convoy of unarmored SUVs. And in the state legislature, I supported Second Amendment rights. I also believe in background checks, so that terrorists can't get their hands on one of these. I approve this message because I'd like to see Senator Blunt do this.
Wow, mic drop moment there. And so, if you remember from part 2, if we use that graphic organizer, the first thing we have to do is break down the techniques used in this video. So we're going to have to go through the 6 techniques. Luckily, I already pre-filled this out, because I realized that half the time of this video would be me typing if I didn't do this. So, stacking the deck absolutely fits. He brags, he says why he's awesome, he does the whole gun thing there, where he makes it blindfolded. This is all positives for him. It's not plain folks, because he's not trying to relate to you. It's not glittering generalities, because he doesn't just spout something that's vague. Guilt by association and coattailing, no, not at all. He's not trying to associate himself with a negative person or a positive event. You could maybe argue that he's coattailing off the military, but that's more bragging about his record and stacking the deck. Also, something not listed here is testimonials. There is nobody here who is endorsing him at the moment. Now, you could argue it's a negative attack ad of sorts, because he asks his opponent to do what he just did as he was defending his record. But also keep in mind that it's more defense than anything else. So he's not saying, hey, my opponent's the worst person ever, how dare he? Instead, he's saying, yeah, do what I can do. How dare you question my record, right? And so the next part of that sheet had us determining what the main strategy was. Luckily, this is nice and simple. Stacking the deck is the main strategy. Negative or attack ad gets sort of fit, but we're sticking with stacking the deck. Next, we need to use 3 criteria: informative, effective, and ethical. Now, this is very informative because you learn a lot about Jason Kander within these 30 seconds. You know his military background, you know his positions on things, and his accomplishments. So really informative. And this is very effective. It's because he's assembling a rifle blindfolded. This is amazing. It sticks in your head. It's also not something you see for normal political advertisements. He's also showing his knowledge of firearms as well and touting his military experience. So all in all, it's very effective. He would definitely gain votes from this ad alone. And it's mainly ethical. I put mostly ethical here because he's truthful and he's mainly focusing on the positive for himself. He does call out his opponent at the end, but it's not in a disrespectful manner. And again, he's just defending himself at this point. So we got this information. Now what do I do next? Well, we start to write the body paragraph. So remember the Melcon format, main idea, evidence, link, conclusion. We're going to change it up just a little bit to suit our purposes here. So here is the DBQ essay organizer, and most parts of this rubric correspond to part of the organizer. We'll address it in just a second. So a 5-paragraph organizer made by Miss Okuno. Shout out to her yet again, amazing person. Paragraph 1 is your introduction paragraph. Paragraph 2, 3, and 4 are your body paragraphs, and paragraph 5 is your conclusion paragraph. One thing I want to point out is that when we look at this rubric, it is mainly focused on you making an argument more than anything else. So your paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 will be the bulk of your grade. And now let me be clear about how I'm going to grade you here. So let's go to the first one. Introduce precise, knowledgeable claim. The difference is just one word here: nuance, specific, general, and vague. Now, when I'm grading you on this part here, I'm mainly going to be looking at your main idea here. This is where it's going to be graded, and maybe the introduction depending, but your main idea is you making a claim, and if it's nuanced and complicated, you'll be in that A-B range, 3-4 range. If you're just general or vague, 2-1 range. Next, establish significant claims. This is 2 parts. First, you need to make sure the claim is significant. If you do so, that's at least a 2 out of 4. And then you have to have evidence. If it's weak evidence, 3. If it's strong, a 4. That's going to be graded in the E and L section, right? Because you're establishing the significance right here, and this is where you provide the evidence. Next, distinguish claims and counterclaims. Right here, some say the strategy is not effective because, and however this ad disproves that because, this again corresponds to the rubric. If you skip this part completely, you're at a 1. If you mention a counterclaim, but you don't address it, then that's a 2. So that means if you do this, but don't try to disprove it or refute it, you're in 2 range. If you do refute it, then you're in the 4 range. And these last 3 things here, these are basically give-me's, okay? This rubric is out of 24 points. And this here is worth 12, these 3 ones. As long as you use 3 documents, 4 points already. As long as you write properly with little or no grammar errors, that's another 4 points. And then, as long as it's ordered clearly and logically to support your arguments, which means you're following this rubric, then that's 12 points. So immediately, if you just follow the rubric, you're at least 12 out of 24 or 50%. Getting above that will require you to have some writing skills here and get this part up here. So now let me demonstrate to you how to write this, how to use this graphic organizer. So I'm not going to write it. Again, this is all pre-typed out, so this video won't be too long, hopefully. Copied and pasted the words right over here. One of the most effective strategies used, etc., etc. So if I click here, this is the paragraph I came up with. Kind of hard to read, so let's make it easier. The first one is the main idea. One of the most effective strategies used in political advertisements is. So you put your main strategy, and then you also put if it's effective, if you put if it's ethical, and if you put if it is informative. So if I click again, one of the most effective strategies used in political advertisements is stacking the deck, because it informs the viewer about the candidate, which in turn will make the people want to vote for them while being ethical. So this is very nuanced, because I am not just stating it does all the things, but I am saying the way they interact with each other causes them to complement each other in essence. Okay, so main idea. This is best shown in the ad, and at this point you put the title of your document and you just summarize what the document's about. This is best shown in the ad Jason Kander, where Kander defends himself on his gun record while simultaneously assembling a gun blindfolded. You could go into more detail here, but I only have so much space on the slide. Okay, then we start getting into the criteria. This advertisement is informative because it tells the audience about how Jason Kander served the military and how he supports common sense gun legislation, all things the audience likely would not know about him prior to watching the advertisement. And again, I cut it a little bit short because of space. One thing I want to point out, he does not necessarily say this quote, so if you make this mistake, you will probably lose half a point. So you could deduct half a point from me because he doesn't say that. Instead, if I took away the quotation marks, then I would get full credit. But keep in mind, quotation marks should only be quotes. I made a mistake here. That's okay. We all make mistakes. I'm a mistake myself. So this advertisement is ethical. And it's ethical because Kander is mainly defending himself from allegations by his opponent. He is responding to criticism instead of attacking someone. This is typically the easiest thing to find out. If they are attacking their opponent or using something rotten in their past or something extremely personal, it's probably not an ethical advertisement. So do keep that in mind. Okay, but we still have a lot more to get through. Next one. This advertisement is effective. And remember, effective means it's getting votes. Now, is it effective? Well, let's see what I said. Oops, there we go. This advertisement is effective because he is flaunting his status as a veteran, which is a respected position, and he is demonstrating his knowledge of the issues, showing that he has substance. As a result, it makes it much more likely that voters will elect him. Notice here that I am also explaining myself, right? I'm not saying this advertisement is effective because he's flaunting his status as a veteran. I explain why it's important that he's flaunting his status as a veteran and this here. So I'm connecting these here, which is very strong writing here. This advertisement demonstrates the stacking the deck strategy because he is focusing on the positive aspect of his career. So again, you put the strategy there. That's simple as that. Now this is where you get the counter argument. So you got to think why the strategy would not be effective. Notice it's not saying this ad is not effective, but the strategy itself is not effective. So some say that the strategy is not effective because stacking the deck may sound like bragging, right? And we don't always like people who brag. It comes across as arrogant, and there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. Okay. And then this one here interacts with this statement simultaneously. And this is where we would get into the refuting and addressing the counterclaim. However, this ad disproves that because the constant listing positive achievements seeks to inform, and it does not come across as bragging because he is defending himself from attacks. So I'm refuting the counter-argument, which means that these two sentences here gave me 4 points immediately. And of course, a little summary of everything here. To summarize, the stacking the deck strategy is useful because it informs the audience It's effective at getting votes because it emphasizes their accomplishments, and it is ethical because it does not badmouth anyone. So now this all looks like this in when we get rid of the in-between lines. And notice, it wasn't that difficult to actually make this because we used this graphic organizer here. And if you use it, it's essentially filling in the blanks and including your own reasoning and logic in order to make it seem better. So you wrote an entirely good paragraph here, all in a few minutes. So this would of course be graded according to the rubric. We clearly address the problem in a nuanced way. Show significance of the claim with strong evidence here. We always say things here. He assembled the gun blindfolded. Talked about the things he said. The only thing again is that if I got rid of these quotation marks, it'd be stronger. Otherwise, I am not accurately reflecting the document. We already went over the fact I address and refute counterclaims. And again, the writing is ordered and clearly logical because we followed the rubric. Grammar or writing. Okay. Hopefully the grammar here is perfect. And then we use well, actually, this would only be a 2 because I would need to do the other body paragraphs in order to get up to a 3 and 4. And so the next slides deal with autographic organizer. Because remember, you do have freedom in how you write. So if you need this graphic organizer, it's there as a support system. And I strongly recommend it for something as complicated as this prompt. However, if you feel that you are strong enough to write it without a graphic organizer, feel free to. You'll be graded according to the rubric, not necessarily your adherence or you following the graphic organizer directly. So, to summarize, analyze a document. You should have done that in part 2. Use the graphic organizer to help you write the essay if you need it, and you do not have to use it if you need it. Also, you have access to this PowerPoint on Google Slides, and I will start providing feedback now, and you could choose to use it as need be. So, I do have a few people here, Brandon Hansen and Eric Serna. Hey guys, nice to meet you. But this DBQ, Google Slides is called, it has everything that I went over in this PowerPoint. I went into greater detail, a lot of detail here. Primarily because I wanted to try to support you as much as possible in this here. And where do you find this? Well, if you go to instructions here, DBQ Google Slides, right there. And I altered the slides as need be. As you could see, the edit was 19 minutes ago because I realized I could be a little bit clearer on some things. I mean, this is what, like my 4th time recording this? And so, one last thing here is that if you choose to go read this, that's fine, okay? You don't have to. I feel like this right here is an easier way to break it down. Again, I will start inputting grades as soon as need be. And remember, the grades can only seek to improve your status as of now. Although I did hear that, like, if we do come back, you could be held responsible for the work you did not do online. So do keep that in mind when choosing to not do work. But again, I'll have a clearer policy for you later as I learn more information. Feel free to message me with questions. Feel free to comment on this video. Feel free to send me a message if you have a question, an email. Feel free to comment on Google Classroom. If you really want, maybe I can include face cam so you could see my lovely face and see this lovely room where there's just a white wall in the background with nothing on there. And you'll see my hair as it grows unruly. But yeah, I wish you guys the best. Make good choices. Make good choices. Have a wonderful day.